Hi, this is Lauren from the Lemknitcrochet Designs podcast, and today I'm going to show you how I do Judy's Magic Cast On. This is the coolest cast on because it is seamless and it is the best cast on to use for toe-up socks, for toys. It's just a good way of not having to close up holes left in your work. When you do it for, say, a toe on your socks, you're not going to have this big flat hole at the beginning. You're going to have to re-seam up. So it is just the coolest cast on, and if you see how to do it and just practice a few times, you'll get used to it, and I think you'll never want to use a different cast on again for toe-up socks or for a seamless cast on for toys. So, to do the Judy's Magic Cast On, I like to use a long circular needle. So here's my cord, you can see, and my needles. And for Judy's Magic Cast On, there's going to be a specific needle that's on the top and one that's on the bottom. So your top needle, to start, you take your yarn, and here's the tail of my yarn, and you're going to drape that over this top needle. So you can see this is my top needle. So you've got your top and your bottom. So my top needle, you drape this yarn over the top. See? And your tail is at the front. Here's my tail. It's draped over the front of that needle. So you're going to have it draped over. This is just the first step, is you drape your yarn, and this is your working yarn. This is the tail of your yarn. The tail of your yarn is pinched between your two needles. So to get this started, set up, keep going, got your tail of your yarn at the front and your working yarn at the back. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this tail yarn, push it towards the back, and then set your hands up as though you're going to long tail cast on. So you have it set up like this. You've got your tail up here. You see. And as I did that, you can see I twisted the yarn. See how it's twisted right there? So I'm going to do it again so you can understand a little better. You've got your tail yarn at the front, and it's draped over this top needle. It's pinched, the tail yarn is pinched in between your needles. So you're going to take this yarn, push it towards the back. This is your tail yarn that I'm jiggling. And then you're going to hold, this is going to be with your pointer finger, the tail is going to be with your pointer finger, and your working yarn is going to be with your thumb, setting it up like a long tail cast on. So you can see I've got it all set up. Now to do Judy's Magic Cast On, you're going to load the top and the bottom needle. And to do this, you've got your first stitch already on your needle from that draping, and make sure it's real tight. You will find a little hole, a little gap if you don't pull it real tight, and you just need to practice. After you practice, it won't be so awkward, but it needs to be held tight. So you're going to take, see how I've got my thumb, and I've got my pointer finger. You're going to load the bottom needle, and to load the bottom needle, you're going to take your needles, go up over this yarn, slide it in between the two needles over the bottom needle. Then you're going to load the top needle by going down to the thumb yarn, splitting it with your needles, and you pop it over. So I've got 3 stitches, and so then for the bottom you're going to do it again. You go back, slide it in between and up, just pull it tight. So you're just going to kind of do this back and forth and back and forth, and that's how you do the Judy's Magic cast on. I'll show you slow motion one more time. You take, this is your thumb, get where you can see it better. Thumb, pointer. Thumb has your working yarn. Pointer has your tail yarn. Working, tail, working, tail. You're about to load your top needle. To load your top needle, you're going to go into your thumb working yarn. You split the yarn. Your needles are over the top of the yarn. You pop it over the top needle. Then to do the bottom, you go to your pointer finger, you go up underneath your yarn, so you're picking up your yarn with your bottom needle, and it's picked up split between the needles. You see? And see how they're just lining up right there? So what do you do once you have whatever number you need cast on? For this circumstance, it looks like I've got 14. So you've got 14 on, but how do you start knitting? Well, what you do, see how this is my top? You're going to rotate your needles where the one that was on the top is now on the bottom. The one that was on the bottom is now on the top. And see how you're still kind of holding it? I like to just put my finger down and keep the tension. Drop your yarn. Clearly you can see this is my tail yarn. So it has a tail. And this is my working yarn. So you're going to kind of lightly, I kind of pinch this tail yarn so that it doesn't slip off the needle. It's pretty easy to slip it off. So once you knit this first stitch, it's going to be held in place and you don't have to worry anymore, but you need to knit that first stitch. So when I knit my first stitch, I hold it. I hold it like this. See how I have my fingers pinched on it to keep the tension? So you're going to slide your bottom needle out and you're just going to knit across. So see how I'm keeping this tension? And I like to kind of pull it, make sure that stitch is good to go. And then all you have to do is knit across. And it's so simple. So you knit across. And then to do your next row, you're going to rotate again. And you're going to knit up this top needle. So you slide out your bottom needle and knit across. And this is your first knit row right here. What you're doing right now is your first knit row. You've already cast on. You've already, that little finger trick right before you start knitting, that's your cast on. And it's seamless. And when I'm done knitting this row, you can see two perfect little seamless stitches all ready to go. So that's Judy's Magic Cast On.